Good afternoon. Thank you for joining for today's virtual information session about serving on London Health Sciences Centre's renewed Board of Directors. My name is Beth Summers. I am a manager on LHSC's Communications and Public Engagement team. I'll be helping to moderate today's session as well as supporting the question and answer period. We're hosting today's session for community members who may be interested in applying to serve on LHSC's renewed board, as well as those who are looking to learn a little bit more before deciding whether this is the right opportunity for them. Today, you'll hear from David Mouche, LHSC supervisor, about why LHSC is recruiting a new board, the work underway, what board service involves, who we're looking for, and how you can apply. Before I turn things over to David, I'll quickly go over how today's session will work and how you can participate. Today's session will focus on a few key areas. First, we'll provide an overview of LHSC's renewal journey. Then we'll walk through what board service involves, including the role of the board, responsibilities, meeting commitments, the volunteer nature of the position, and the role governance plays in supporting a strong and accountable organization. We'll also discuss what we're looking for, including the skills, experiences, perspective, and lived experience that will help shape a strong and effective board that represents the communities we serve. Following that, we'll review the application process. And finally, we'll move into a moderated question and answer period where we'll aim to answer as many questions as possible today. Before I begin, I want to quickly explain how today's session will work. Microsoft Teams is the primary platform to ask questions today. If you would like to submit a question for the moderated Q&A, please use the Q&A feature in Teams. This looks like a little speech bubble in your top taskbar with the words Q&A on it. YouTube is also available as an alternate viewing option. Community members watching through YouTube today will be able to view the session live, but will not be able to participate in the question and answer period. If you're joining through a desktop or laptop computer, you should be able to access Teams Town Hall through your web browser and also the Q&A portion of this segment as well. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible during the time available. But to help make the best use of our time together, we ask that questions be related to board service, the recruitment process, eligibility, expectations of the role, and the application process. This will help us to stay focused on the purpose of today's meeting and ensure we can answer as many relevant questions as possible. We also ask that all questions and comments remain respectful so that we can maintain a constructive and welcoming discussion. As a reminder, today's session is being recorded and will be made available after the event. I'll now turn things over to David Mouche, LHSC supervisor. David?
Thank you, Beth. And as Beth mentioned, LHSC is recruiting a renewed board of directors, and it's really a part of a very important next step in the organization's renewal process. So since September of 2024, I've served as supervisor of LHSC, and one of my responsibilities has been to report to the Ministry of Health and the public on the organization, including the challenges that led to supervision and the work underway to strengthen LHSC. So supervision is never meant to be permanent. LHSC has made meaningful progress, and while work remains, we are now ready to begin implementing the governance structure that will support the hospital for many years to come. Recruiting a renewed board will ensure we have the right structures in place to support accountability, transparency, and good decision-making. So how are we improving? Over the past 2 years, LHSC has taken important steps to strengthen the systems and structures that support great care. That includes redesigning governance structures, strengthening board-related processes, simplifying committee structures, and developing a comprehensive orientation and education program for future board members. This also includes restoring independent internal audit oversight, expanded whistleblower reporting mechanisms. We've improved procurement and contracting processes and introduced stronger financial controls. We have advanced nearly 200 recommendations from independent organizational reviews and taken feedback from staff, patients, families, and community members in moving the organization forward. This work's not complete, but LHSC today is fundamentally different. There's much stronger oversight, clearer accountability, more transparency, and a renewed focus on discipline execution. The board we're recruiting is not being asked to solve yesterday's problems. Those issues are being addressed. The board will focus on guiding LHSC into its next chapter while ensuring we learn from the past. So, to understand board service at LHSC, it helps to understand the scale and complexity of their organization. LHSC is one of Canada's largest research-intensive acute care teaching hospitals, with an annual operating budget of approximately $2 billion. It has more than 17,000 staff, physicians, dentists, midwives, researchers, learners, and volunteers, and more than 1 million patient visits each year. LHSC serves a rather large area, which not only includes London and surrounding communities, but its reach extends to southwestern Ontario and as far north as Thunder Bay. LHSC is also a learning and research environment. LHSC has more than 4,000 learners each year and more than 2,400 active clinical research studies. So when we talk about governance, we're talking about oversight of a large, complex organization with a significant impact on patients, families, learners, researchers, staff, and the communities we serve. So why now? Why is it now the right time to join LHSC's renewed board of directors? Few volunteer board positions in Canada provide oversight of an organization of this scale, complexity, and impact. And LHSC is entering a very important new chapter. Again, we have implemented a new governance model, welcomed new leadership, strengthened accountability, renewed and modernized relationships, and advanced significant redevelopment projects. This is your opportunity to help shape healthcare in our region and across southwestern Ontario for decades to come. For this board, success means delivering exceptional patient care, maintaining trusted governance, supporting long-term financial sustainability, advancing innovation, and continuing to strengthen LHSC's position as one of Canada's leading academic hospitals. One of the most important parts of this work has been redesigning the governance structure that's going to support LHSC moving forward. So the renewed board structure include focused standing committees in finance and audit, quality and safety, governance and nominating, human resources, and research. We're also restoring key academic and system partnerships directly into governance structure through ex officio participation and collaborative engagement with partners that include Western University, the Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry, St. Joseph Healthcare London, London Health Sciences Foundation, and also Children's Health Foundation. Transparency and public engagement will remain central to governance moving forward. When board meetings are virtual, LHSC will continue publicly live streaming them whenever operationally possible. For in-person meetings, LHSC will continue pursuing live streaming where that's feasible. So you might ask, what does a board do? What does a hospital board do? So the role of a board is governance and oversight. And this includes setting strategic direction. It includes overseeing quality of care and patient safety. It includes ensuring strong financial stewardship. It includes supporting your employees, your CEO, and your chair of your medical advisory committee regarding oversight and accountability and monitoring organizational performance and risk. Board members provide guidance, oversight, and accountability to help ensure LHSC remains focused on its mission and long-term priorities. The board does not manage hospitals' day-to-day operations. Rather, it helps ensure the organization is moving in the right direction, achieving the outcomes expected by patients, families, staff, and communities, and supporting its CEO and chair of the Medical Advisory Committee. Effective governance is one of the foundations of a strong and sustainable organization, which is why recruiting the right board is such an important step of LHSC's renewal journey. So how do board committees support governance? So one of the ways the board carries out its governance responsibility is through its various committees. So committees allow board members to focus on specific areas of oversight, review information in greater detail, and bring recommendations forward to the full board. It also will help ensure the board has the information and recommendations it needs to make informed decisions. So each committee has a distinct mandate. So for instance, the executive committee only should be acting on behalf of the board in exceptional circumstances where the full board cannot convene. So in many cases that occurs, say, over the summertime where there might be a 2-month hiatus of regular board meetings. That's maybe when the executive committee moves in, but very limited time. Finance and audit, just as its name, very simple in the sense of its name, is it oversees financial performance, budgets, risk, internal controls, and audit activities. Quality and safety focuses on quality of care, patient safety, indicators, incidents, and improvement priorities. Governance and nominating committee supports the board's effectiveness, recruitment, skills, succession planning, and governance practices. Human Resource Committee oversees the CEO's performance, compensation issues, workplace strategy, labor relations, culture, wellness, and safety. The Research Committee provides oversight of London Health Sciences Centre Research Institute, including research strategy, commercialization, talent, compliance, funding, and risk. Then we have the Medical Advisory Committee, or what is termed the acronym MAC, and it provides oversight and recommendations related to professional staff, quality of care, credentialing, physician, dentist, midwifery leadership, and clinical governance matters. And then there's what's called the Fiscal Advisory Committee. This is a legislated committee that provides advice regarding operations, staffing, resource allocations from a multidisciplinary staff perspective. So you might ask, okay, what board work happens throughout the year? So generally, board members typically serve on at least one or more of these committees. Much of the detailed governance work happens at this committee level. Committee reviews reports, monitors performance, discusses emerging risks and opportunities, and then brings recommendations forward to the full board for consideration. Each committee also operates under an annual work plan that's set at the start of the committee year that helps guide its work throughout the year. So for example, the Finance and Audit Committee regularly reviews financial performance on a monthly basis. It looks at operating capital budgets. It looks at risk management, audit activities, and long-term financial sustainability. Those discussions occur throughout the year rather than at a single point in time. The same approach applies across all of the committees I discussed earlier. We have annual work plans that will help ensure important issues receive regular oversight and the board remains focused on its priorities and responsibilities. So you might ask, why does all this matter? So every family in Southwestern Ontario is going to rely upon LHSC at some point in their lives. The decisions made by this board today influence the care our children receive, how quickly patients access treatment, and the stewardship, as indicated, of more than $2 billion in public resources, and the future of one of Canada's largest academic hospitals. While the board members clearly do not deliver care at bedside, their decisions shape how care is delivered across LHSC. And that's why it's so important that strong governance matters. It supports accountability, it supports transparency, and it supports the long-term success of LHSC. It's also why community participation matters. The board has to reflect the community LHSC serves and help ensure teams are supported in the work that they do every day. So who are we looking for? Who would make a really good board member? It's you. So we're seeking community-minded leaders who want to make a meaningful contribution. So this includes a broad range of individuals who might have experience in, say, governance, senior leadership, strong integrity and judgment, but a commitment to public service. We're encouraging applications from leaders across the public and private, not-for-profit, academic, Indigenous, and community sectors. We're also looking for individuals who can bring different experiences, perspectives, and expertise to board discussions. So this is an opportunity for you to bring your perspective, your skills, your experience to decisions that help shape the future of care in our community. So what areas of expertise are we looking for? Well, we're looking for a broad mix of skills, experience, and perspectives. So the areas listed on this slide are intended to illustrate the wide range of expertise that may contribute to a strong and effective board. Clearly, no one person is expected to bring every skill listed. The goal is to build a well-rounded board with collective expertise and judgment needed to oversee a large academic health sciences center. So why does community representation matter? We are intentionally building a board that includes diverse perspectives, backgrounds, and lived experiences. Professional expertise, of course, is important, but actually lived experience is equally as valuable. The experiences of patients, families, caregivers, community advocates, and people from different backgrounds help strengthen board discussions and decision-making. We all know diverse perspectives lead to stronger decisions and ultimately better outcomes and more inclusive care for the people we serve. So what do you need to know before you apply? So before you decide to apply, it's important to understand the commitment involved. It's a significant volunteer leadership role. And, I don't want to pull any punches, but, you have to expect you're going to commit approximately 10 to 20 hours per week, including board and committee meetings, preparation, and engagement activities. So members are expected to review their materials in advance. You don't open up your agenda package at the meeting. You read it in advance. You participate actively in discussions, ask thoughtful questions, and contribute to effective governance and decision-making. So we're not looking for people who just want to attend board meetings. We're looking for people who want to ask good questions, make thoughtful decisions, support and work with management appropriately, and help ensure that London Health Sciences Centre continues earning the trust of patients, families, staff, physicians, dentists, midwives, learners, researchers, volunteers, donors, and communities we serve. LHSC is going to provide a lot of orientation for board members, a lot of onboarding and ongoing governance education to support board members in the role. It's a big volunteer commitment, but also an opportunity to make a significant contribution to the future of care in our community. So, how do you apply? Well, if you're interested in applying, the process hopefully is pretty straightforward for those who have gone on the webpage. So please start by visiting LHSC's board recruitment webpage to review your eligibility. It also reviews your role requirements, expectations of service, and application instructions. You're asked to provide a cover letter along with a resume or CV. You can submit these online, and for individuals who don't have access to the online form, applications can be emailed, sent by mail, or dropped off at the hospital. So applications are open and will remain open until July 31st of this month. So after applications close, what we're going to do is they're going to be reviewed as part of a recruitment and selection process by a panel of health system and governance leaders with representation from our patient partners. The goal is to build a strong, well-rounded board that reflects the skills, experiences, and perspectives needed to support LHSC's future governance. The recruitment process is skills-based and is aligned with LHSC's priorities while also reflecting a commitment to transparency, accountability, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So selected board members will receive orientation, as I've stated, and onboarding to ensure their success as a board member. So it's more than just a position. At LHSC, it truly is great people lead to great care. So a seat at the board table, as stated, is more than a position. It's a voice, it's a responsibility, it's a chance to shape care for generations of patients, staff, and communities. The decisions made at the table have a real impact. And this is an opportunity to help guide decisions that affect care, affect people, and affect the future of our community. So I'm going to pause now and turn things over to Beth for any questions people might have.
Thank you, David. We'll now move into the moderated question and answer period for today's session. If you're joining through Microsoft Teams Town Hall, please submit your questions using the Q&A feature. Questions will be reviewed and read aloud for David to address, and we'll do our best to address as many questions as possible during the session. To help us make best use of our time together, we'll be focusing on questions related to today's session, including board service, the recruitment process, eligibility, expectations of the role, and the application process. As a reminder, YouTube video viewers are able to watch the session live, but are not able to participate in the Q&A. If you would like to participate in the Q&A, please log on to Microsoft Teams Town Hall on a desktop or laptop computer and toggle to the Q&A icon at the top of your taskbar to begin participating in asking your questions today. See, we have a few questions in the queue here, so we'll just get ready to turn those over to you, David. Our first question today, David, is from Shauna. When the board is selected, what is the vision to kick off the board activities to shape culture, operating structure, and how the group will work successfully together?
Yeah, great question, and thank you for asking it and kicking it off. So clearly, I focused on the statement orientation and getting the board members together, not only as a collective group of board members on orientation processes, but part of the orientation is going to be board members then being oriented with senior administration, both on the clinical and non-clinical side. So we have sessions lined up where board members would be meeting in orientation sessions with all of the chairs, heads of the various clinical departments, the members of the medical advisory committee, as well as vice presidents, because those are the individuals they're going to be working most closely with, aside from the president and CEO, moving forward. Is we have to, everyone has their role with respect to governance, operating, but we got to work as a team. And that's one thing I really strongly support in my history, is that the only way we can move forward as an organization is if we move forward together. We have, some very good debates, some very good discussions, constructive discussions, ask the tough questions, but at the same time, we're all rowing in the same direction, is we all want better patient care, better access for our community. So to deal with issues that you described is, first and foremost, is a robust orientation process, that includes those key players, not just the board members. And at the end of the day, focusing on the fact that we're in this together. And we got to work together with that leadership moving the organization forward.
Thank you, David. Our next question we don't have a name attached to, but wondering if you could please expand on the time requirement. In your estimation, is the 10 to 20 hours per week needed for a ramp-up phase for the new board or ongoing year over year?
Yeah, great question. And the reason we put that in is to be totally transparent, is we don't want people to go into this and go, oh my God, what the heck? I wasn't expecting this much time. But you have to think you're going to be on, as stated, at least one committee that is going to meet monthly. and the board meeting, which is going to meet monthly, of course. So in preparation for that, though, is you're going to have to read materials in advance. And, back, I'm kind of dating myself here, is we used to talk about, sadly, some board members, and again, they're volunteers, but ripping the cellophane off the agenda package at the start of the meeting. We don't want to have that. This will be sent to you electronically, by the way, so we'll avoid use of paper, but you'll have access to a protected website. So you have an opportunity to look at materials in advance. And generally, the goal is to get them to you in a week in advance of the actual meeting. So you have an opportunity to review all the materials and be prepared to attend the meeting and to actively participate in the meeting, which of course will be set up by way of agenda, and there'll be presentations and there'll be opportunities to ask questions. So I don't want to overstate it that you're going to be working, providing volunteer services 20 hours a week. No, but it is going to be a lot. And yes, definitely at the start, because of the orientation and the ramp up, you're going to spend a little more time, definitely in the first few weeks, first 6 to 8 weeks, say. And then hopefully over time, yes, once the whole board gets into a pattern and you yourself get into a pattern, you'll know how much time you have to set aside to prep. Clearly, some meetings are more extensive than others. But again, that's going to be where, say, the chair of the committee, along with the vice president, along with the member of the medical advisory committee, and that's why we have those work plans, is try to spread out the work throughout the year so we don't have a really intensive September meeting, but a really simple October meeting. Is you spread out and have a report spread out by way of the work plan to try not to inundate one meeting too much with something that needs to get addressed. So again, I want to be fully transparent, as I don't want people to think that doing this is just show up to 2 meetings, quote, get a rubber chicken and go home. You got to prepare for the meeting in advance. Now, just Beth, one thing moving forward. So aside from the first board meeting, first board is moving forward, though, the way the bylaws are set up is, in order to serve on the board, what we have is on board committees is community members. And it's a best practice where an individual will serve on a board committee first before they apply to the board of directors. So it does 2 things. Number one, it gets the individual familiar with the organization. So say you serve as a committee member on the finance committee, it's a way to get an appreciation of the organization, at the same time get an appreciation for the time commitment. And maybe it's not for you. Maybe you sit on the committee, you serve on the committee for a year or 2, and you go, you know what, this is not what I had in mind. It's too much, or something's going on in my personal life. I can't make a commitment. And then you apply to the board of directors. So you go on a committee first with the ability to apply on the board. Of course, the first group that we're dealing with now, we don't have that ability. I have to put board members on. So the first group will go straight to the board plus be on the committee. So when you're talking about volume of work, yes, the first group is going to have a greater volume of work. In the future, again, those who come on a committee first, then apply within a year or 2 to get on the board, will ramp up, and we'll see, okay, is this for me? And then also the board members will decide, is this person providing value to the organization? Are they going to be a good fit as a board member and apply? So it's a great way for both the individual plus the board to determine board members moving forward, a great way to recruit future board members from a best practice point of view.
Thanks, David. That answer actually segues really nicely into our next question here, which is, what is the size of the board and the tenure?
Yeah, so out of the gate, what I'm looking for right now is we're going to start with 8 elected board members. The size is a range of elected board members. And the goal is to work towards, say, 12 up to 16 elected board members. The issue, though, is what you want to is you don't want to bring on, say, 12 right out of the gate, because you want an annual turnover aboard. You don't want all 8 people leaving at once. So that's one of the reasons why going to start with 8 and eventually over the next year or two gradually increase the numbers. And the terms are 3-3-year terms. So it's hoped that an individual, you're not obligated, but when you sign on, as you're looking at arguably 9 years as a board member, subject to staying on longer if you're at a higher level, meaning you get elected to vice chair, chair of the board, you can extend the 9 years to, become vice chair, chair, past chair. So arguably you could stay longer, but it's not quote a sentence, meaning, if you come to the board, you're not obligated to give 9 years, but that's the goal. I can tell you when I was in Windsor, before I joined CEO, we had a lot of turnover of board members, and it created problems where they have a limited amount of tenure, and pretty much when they're hitting stride, they left. It's like, it's just like anything else. Bringing on new people, it takes time for them to hit their stride sometimes. But I was lucky that through the years in Windsor, I had people that pretty much stayed, short of a personal issue, pretty much stayed all 9 years, three terms. And I can tell you it really adds value when someone has that much experience and knowledge and insight into the operations of a hospital. It really helps. But again, it's set up that you don't want mass amounts resigning at the same time. And you want it'd be nice if, 3 or 4 in a given year resign, and you set it up that way. So it's a nice flow, but that's the quote expectation is 3-3-year terms.
Thank you, David. We do have another question here about whether or not we'll be providing the slides that you presented today. And I did want to confirm that we will be posting those. You'll be able to access those on our board recruitment webpage. That's lhsc.on.ca/board. They'll also be provided, obviously, through the recording that we'll be posting for your access as well. So you'll be able to access those slides in 2 different spots at the end of this session today. Next question here, David. As a new board, when will the first official board meeting occur?
That's to be determined from a timing point of view. The goal is hopefully early 2027. But that means, so again, the timeline is applications close July 31st. We're going to review them. The group of individuals, as I indicated, is going to be reviewing them. We're going to be inviting individuals for interviews. We will then be selecting the individuals to be on the board, but we got to do a lot of orientation, as stated, before we start kicking off a board meeting. So technically, subject to schedules and all that kind of stuff, the goal is the first board meeting would be early 2027. But again, that's not, carved in stone, but that doesn't mean that you don't pick your head up until 2027. Is if you're selected, you're going to be involved in orientation and meetings and preparation, getting ready for 2027 and the first committee and board meetings.
Thanks, David. Our next question here regarding hiring a new president and CEO has acknowledged that this is a vital undertaking. Is there a budget to procure executive recruiting services with specific experience in hiring healthcare executives to support the board in this process?
Yes, and that's already taken place. So that is already lined up that's already been processed and procured. And we have someone that, what I did is we had a couple other planned retirements that we knew about. So we put a package together to do multiple individuals. And that way I found that that's a way to create consistency with respect to postings, et cetera. So we are all set and ready to go. once the board is in place for that process to begin as well. So yes, one of the two key things for this board to look at that they got to look at is number one, president, CEO, and their other employee, which sometimes they forget about, which is just as important, is the chair head of the medical advisory committee. We have an interim position now. We got to make that permanent. So the board needs to deal with those two positions. That's their key people that quote report to them directly. And then the third thing is strategic planning. It just so happens the LHSC current strategic plan is running out, and therefore we got to kick off strategic planning, which is definitely a board's bailiwick.
Thank you, David. Our next question here from Jamie thanks you for your time today and recognizes and appreciates your commitment to governance and supporting the Q&A session today. Jamie's question is, you describe LHSC as a large and complex organization focused on delivering the best possible patient outcomes across multiple communities. Everything is connected. Cybersecurity is both a patient safety and organizational resilience issue. What governance mechanisms do you rely on to oversee the risk, and where do you want directors spending the most time supporting and constructively challenging management?
Yeah, and that's that's going to be the issue. And if you thank you for the question, first of all. But if you've had the time to read my report, my interim report, one of the pages I identify is a concern I have, and moving forward, we have to respect this, is the board has a role. Management has a role. That does not mean that board should not be, in my opinion, clearly aware of operations, asking questions about operations, but I can't have, and an organization can't have board members operating the organization. That's why you have a CEO. That's why you have a VPs. That's why you have clinical heads and chairs. It's governance, and the two need to be separated. They need to work together, but they got to be separate. The biggest dysfunction of an organization is when they start getting really confused. That creates a problem. Knowing the recent history, of course, of LHSC, my concern is I'm going to do my best and going to have to work with the board, and that's going to be part of the orientation, is not to weed into operations too much, thinking that's what needed to be. If the previous boards would have done that, it would have solved all the problems of this organization. No, that's not the case. And also, I'm going to come in because I want to learn about all the fraud, and that's what I want to get lost in. No. Again, we're going to learn from the past, but the past is being handled. The board would brought up the date on it, but I cannot have the board of directors go down that rabbit hole and spend all their time focusing on the issues that are in the public realm. That's not good governance. The board needs to focus on the future of the organization, the current and the future. Learn from the past, don't repeat the past, but don't get lost in the past. That's sadly, because I can tell you, it's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down, because I'm in it. And, it's, aside from everything else going on, got to deal with that. You can get lost in that. So you can't. So when it comes to cybersecurity, unfortunately, I have some experience with that stuff. In the work plans, that's clearly identified with digital planning and cybersecurity planning and risks and risk tolerance and plans and what's in place and all those types of things. There will be regular reports to the board committees on all of those cybersecurity issues, but definitely that's a massive risk for any organization, especially in healthcare, and that is a clear focus. But again, there are staffing, quote, experts that deal with that and will be making presentations to the board, and it's up to the board to quiz them with respect to the plans that are in place and the risks that are being assessed. And that's the board's role. But for the board to actually sit down and be drafting The operational plan for a department, no, that's up to the leaders of that department, but it's up to them to present it to the board and the board to kick the tires and ask the difficult, constructive questions, but ask them in a respectful manner, again, with the goal of moving the organization forward to a better place.
Thanks, David. Our next question here, you referenced AI skills and experience as something you are looking for. Can you expand on what opportunities you are trying to apply these to?
For AI, you mean artificial intelligence?
For the specific AI skills and experience, yes.
Yeah, that's a blossoming area. Most recently, LHSC just passed its AI policy with respect to AI tools. That's definitely an area that is blossoming for healthcare, and pretty much every organization is where AI is going, while at the same time respecting privacy and security concerns regarding health information. So it's a balancing act, definitely in any organization, including healthcare. Yeah, individuals with quote AI backgrounds clearly will be of interest because it's clearly an opportunity in healthcare and elsewhere again to advance where we're going. It's definitely an interesting field, but at the same time, as stated, there are risks and safety concerns we have to be cognizant of, and we can't just say, oh, let's just proceed blindly because we're dealing again with patient health information as well as security risks.
Thank you, David. How many directors are you targeting to onboard?
Initially 8. So that's the goal, is to start. And again, the reason for that is to ensure proper turnover as we go along. And in addition to the elected 8, we have, of course, I mentioned in the presentation, the ex officio ones, the ones that are there by title, which include, Schulich, Western, St. Joe's, the 2 foundations. So they will be part of the board, but they're ex officio non-voting.
Thanks, David. This next question we've touched on, but in the event this community member has just joined the meeting, I will just see if you'd like to touch on it briefly. When do you expect to have the board selected and the timings for the first meeting?
Yeah, so from board selection, again, the application's open till the end of July. Please, if you're interested, apply. Or if you know someone, get them to apply. I had to cut it off at some time. We gave over a month, so we just can't have it going on. That doesn't mean that if you applied in September, you'll be considered for possibly future board, board membership. But the goal is, if you want to be part of the inaugural new board, you got to get it in by July, because I got to start the process of reviewing those applications. So I have a group of governance experts that are going to review along with patient partners that are going to review the applications. We're going to score them individually, not together. Then we're going to get together and review the results and decide on who will be provided an interview. We will then interview individuals, and then I assume that will take place sometime month of August/September. And then the goal is to offer board positions and start orientation in October, November, December. And again, hopefully kick off a board meeting in January. So just because the board meeting is in January, I'll reiterate, that means though you'll start kind of working as a board member back in August, September type of idea. So you'll be going to orientation sessions, being provided a bunch of materials to read, a bunch of orientation sessions to attend, as stated, not only amongst board members, but then other sessions with vice presidents and members of the medical advisory committee, again, to work as a team and to recognize this is the team that moves the organization forward, technically, along with the 17,000 other staff members.
Thanks, David. Our next question here is, will the chair be selected from the new board, or is the chair already selected?
Yeah, we're working on that as I speak. So probably in the next 48 hours, we will be announcing a chair of the board of directors. which is a very important role.
Thanks, David. Our next question here. When reviewing applications, will the priority be given to those that are currently in leadership positions with multiple years of experience, or is there room for those that are early in their career and wanting to work towards leadership positions in healthcare?
Both and all. So that's what makes a beautiful board, is if you can get a wide range of backgrounds and experiences. Lived experiences count just as much as someone who's been, in my opinion, a governance guru. So, and again, I'm a lawyer in background. Last thing I want is 8 lawyers on a board of directors. No disrespect to lawyers, but no. So you want people with varied backgrounds, and that's why you have a skills matrix, and you want to pick people with varied backgrounds, because when a discussion comes up on an issue, you want to come at it from different angles. You don't want it all from the legal lens or the accounting lens or whatever lens, because you can get really siloed in your thinking. Is you want a broad range of diverse backgrounds. So when an issue comes up, people are looking at it from different ways, and it adds to a far more fulsome discussion and possibly far more better decisions being made.
Thank you. Our next question here is around when board meetings occur. Are the board meetings usually during the day or evening hours?
Yeah, that's still to be determined. And again, we'll work, but a lot of times, you try to make them, or, start around. LHSC had, I won't go into what they had, but my past, which seemed to work, is around 4 or 5 o'clock as board meetings start. And they happen once a month, and it's a fixed day. And you make sure your board meetings are structured that way. All of the committee meetings have enough time to get their minutes done and get them to the board and get the packages together again. So the board has about a week where all the committee packages are given to the board members so they can look at the committee packages for about a week. So you got to spread out your committee meetings in order for that to happen, including your MAC. So again, work to be in progress. I'll be working with the board chair on that, on the exact time, but generally a start of a board meeting at about 4 or 5 seems to work. And that way individuals who are, quote, still working and are not retired, hopefully can get agreement from their boss to be able to once a month leave to attend the committee meetings, leave work early possibly, as compared to losing a whole day of work.
Thanks, David. Next question here. Looking forward, what are LHSC's top 3 priorities through 2027 to 28?
Well, top 3 priorities, again, I'll be working with the board on that, but as a board member, the critical things to the board's going to have to deal with, number one, is getting themselves oriented and up to speed and getting prepared to handle committee meetings and board meetings. That's number one. Number two, starting the recruitment process for a president and CEO, and a permanent chair of the more permanent chair of the medical advisory committee. And number 3, strategic planning. Those are 3 key things for the board to focus on and move the organization forward.
Great, thank you. Our next question here, will the partners listed, such as Schulich, Western University, have nominating privileges to provide members on the board?
Well, they can, no, like they don't automatically, but if I work at Schulich, I can, it's the dean of the medical school is the ex officio member. So it's not, quote, someone from Schulich, it's a particular position. And again, that's in the bylaws. If you go in the bylaws on the LHSC website, it's outlined who those particular people are.
Great, thank you. Our next question here is, what protocols are you putting in place to make sure that the board has strength and integrity to challenge decisions that don't seem to be in the best interest of the whole organization? It seems we need transparency at all levels to be shown rather than the board being a rubber stamp for the executive level.
Yeah, again, I reiterate that in my interim report. Is again, you don't want to create an organization that's at war with each other, and every issue that's brought forward, you want to do it in a constructive manner. And you want to ask the hard questions, but at the same time, you just don't want to get into a war with each other between board administration and the medical advisory committee. That's the quickest way to get a new supervisor appointed. So again, it's mutual respect, and that's the work we need to do in the orientation process is respect each other and respect each other's roles and responsibilities, hold each other accountable, but at the same time, be rowing in the same direction as an organization. But what I need to avoid is exactly the situation where someone's coming in saying, I'm going to hammer the administration or I'm going to hammer the medical advisory committee. No, if that's what you're looking for, please don't apply. Don't need that. Don't have time for that. However, if you're looking at moving the organization forward in a constructive manner and advancing patient care and patient safety and quality of care, then this is a place for you. But again, if you're just looking at, boy, I can't wait to come in and hammer administration, no, sorry, not. And that'll come out during the application process and the interview process, hopefully. Um, but again, we got to move forward.
Thank you, David. Next question here. Are you selecting community members at the same time as board members?
Yeah, that will be part of the process as well, but that'll be part of the board process moving forward is we'll be working with the board members to help bring on community members to board committees.
Great, thank you. And I'll just make note here, we're at the 5-minute mark before we wrap the meeting at 1 o'clock today. So I would encourage you, if you have any final questions, to please pop those in the chat as soon as possible. Our next question here, David, is about bylaws again. So if a potential applicant wanted to learn as much as possible about LHSC and its corporate structure and governance structure, is there access to current bylaws? And I believe you mentioned those are available online on our website.
On the homepage, sitting right
So
there.
Great, thank you. I'll note, I believe you can find that under our About Us section, and a member of our team in the background will be able to drop that link into the publicly available chat, so you should be able to access that there. Next question here, who is the board accountable to? Is it the ministry? If so, how does that interaction occur?
Yeah, so technically, I mean, the board of directors, LHSC is a standalone corporation. So the board of directors is accountable first and foremost to LHSC, to the corporation, and obligated to that. While I'm still here as supervisor, technically the board reports to me. When I am relieved of those duties, then yes, from an operational point of view, the board is accountable to the Ministry of Health and also Ontario Health with respect to various agreements that LHSC signs with accountability agreements and legislative requirements and things like that. Again, all of that will be discussed in the orientation session, and some of it is online. If you look at on the application page, there's a good governance link, a document by OHA, as well as another link to another document. If you link on those, rather than me giving a Cole's Notes version of it, they're great documents to read from that provide background with respect to board members, obligations, duties, responsibilities, all that kind of stuff. So I think we'll try to put it in the chat somewhere. I see people feverishly working on that. But they're in there. They're really good documents by the Ontario Hospital Association.
Thanks, David. And that's that lhsc.on.ca/board webpage you're referencing, where those links can be found for reference for everyone on the session. Yeah.
Yeah, so we tried to put as much information without inundating people there to give you background on what does it mean to become a board member. One of the big issues that people didn't appreciate, and I have to reiterate it all the time, it's unpaid volunteer. That's, and not a lot of not-for-profit boards across Ontario and Canada for that matter are unpaid. that includes a board member of a hospital. So it is not paid. As stated, if you come to a meeting, you might be lucky enough to get a rubber chicken dinner. But other than that, that's it. And the goal here is that you're in it to advance healthcare for not only London and surrounding communities, but the whole province. And to be part of a pretty exciting organization. You know, at the end of the day, I know there's been a lot of talk, as I said, you can go down the rabbit hole, but a lot of talk about what occurred here and what resulted in my appointment and what I uncovered during my appointment. That's a very finite group of people. And the vast majority, massive majority of individuals at LHSC are doing a pretty darn good job. And clinical care is very strong here at LHSC. And that has not been negatively impacted by a few rotten apples. So what I can't have is a new board focusing on the rotten apples, because that's the quickest way to bring an organization down is when you focus on your, you know, the 10%. If in this case, less than 1% of the organization, you're going to lose then the 99.9%. So you got to focus on the 99.9%, move the organization forward. Yes, there's a time and place to learn from the less than 1%. So we don't replicate it and don't duplicate it and learn from it. But we're not going to be spending a lot of time on that. Because again, that's not where this organization needs to go. Is it needs to look forward, learn from the past, don't repeat the past, but move forward.
Thank you, David. I would note those links we referenced earlier have been posted in the Q&A chat for everyone to access. And seeing as we're just about at time here and ready to wrap up, I just wanted to ask David if there's any further closing remarks you'd like to offer before we wrap this afternoon.
No, thanks for those attending this meeting and the session. And I know those that this will be shared with afterwards. It's great that you have. And again, if you yourself or you're aware of someone that you think would be a great board member, please apply. Please. There's the link there. Please apply. The only way you're gonna get on the board is you got to apply. I can't be picking people out of the air. You got to say you're interested for us to realize you're interested. And just be cognizant of the fact that if you apply and you're not selected for an interview, that doesn't mean that you're forever forgotten. We have the pool of applicants, and as someone asked, how are we going to put committee members on? Boom, from that pool of applicants. How are we going to have future board members? Of course, we'll have future, you know, advertisements, but at the same time, we have a pool of applicants that, hey, this person was really close last time. Are they still interested? So again, please take the time to apply, and you don't have to be a governance guru or some, you know, been on 5,000 boards in the past to apply. Please, that's what makes a strong board is diverse backgrounds, diverse individuals. That's what we're looking for to be on a board of directors. That's what makes LHSC and will make it move forward and be a strong organization. So again, yeah, we have till July 31st, and I really want to appreciate those who attended this session and asked questions. They were great ones. And we have another session, I think, tonight at 7 o'clock. So if you have a friend, send them the link and tell them to attend tonight's session at 7.